This tutorial is going to walk you through how to download SQL Server Express along with how to install SQL Server Management Studio. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to navigate to the Microsoft SQL Server Downloads page, and you'll see that here in this URL right there that you're going to go to. I'll also put that down in the comments for anybody who may need it. You're going to basically look here for Express, click download now. It's going to bring you to the download to occur. We're going to click open file. We're going to do a custom installation just so we can walk through the settings. Here in the media location, we're going to want to change the location should we feel it's necessary. If you have a different drive or some sort, or you don't have enough space on your computer, you may want to move it to another place. Okay, so there in that media location, you may want to do so. We'll click install. And we're going to wait for the setup files to be ready for us to go through the configuration. While you're waiting, you can make note of the locations that we're showing for some samples that you can access from GitHub. And you can also make note of some of the SQL Server documentation links here for support, should you run into questions and you want to do some research on your own to find. Once the download is successful, you're going to see the installer launch. This will take a minute or so depending upon your computer speed. If it doesn't launch and show, check your toolbar. You might have to click on it to make it maximized, as I just did. Here on this screen, you're going to want to first do the top option, which is to go ahead and create a new SQL Server instance. So what you'll want to do is choose the new SQL Server standalone installation, which is there. And this is going to give us our SQLExpress database. Okay. First thing you need to do is accept the license agreement. Click next. Rules are going to run. You're going to let Microsoft check for updates. That's recommended. Get the best features. It's going to check for any updates. Going to run some rule checking. The Windows firewall will likely give you a warning. You can check out the warning. It's not something we need to be concerned about for now, so we can click next. Feature selection. This is what's very important. We want to choose the local DB. Okay, again, notice your installation directories. If you have a D drive, you may want to change those over. All depends on how you want to have this set on your computer. On this screen, if you have other versions of SQL Server already installed, it's going to show you what is installed on your machine. It's going to default to a named instance called SQLExpress. I prefer to just do a default instance my very first time, and it's going to give it an ID of MS SQL Server. So I go with default unless I'm working on a computer that already has instances, and I might want to be creating a new clean instance for my purposes. So default's good to go. Click next. On this screen, you can make note of the service accounts. The defaults are good, nothing to change here for your own learning environment. Click Next. You'll want to make note here of the user account. By default, it's going to take the computer user that's signed in and set up with Windows authentication mode. In most organizations nowadays, they do not like having SQL Server accounts. You may want SQL Server accounts or may need them. If that's the case, mixed mode. This will let you have individual username and passwords to log into SQL Server. If you don't, then the only thing you're going to be able to have is your own Windows or domain accounts. Keep that in mind. You can change it later on. You will be the system admin as the user logged in doing the installation. Just note of that. So I'm going to click Next here, leave the defaults. The installation will now progress and complete the install of our SQL Server Express database. Once this installation is complete, we're going to proceed by choosing the next option of Install SQL Server Management Tools. That's going to be known as SSMS, and that will allow us to connect to our database. So just keep that in mind, that installing SSMS doesn't give us the database, and installing the database doesn't give us SSMS. So we need to have both in order to work with our SQL Server database. And this installation takes a fair amount of time depending upon, again, your computer processing power. I'm currently working on an Azure VM that's new with about 8 gigabytes of memory. Now, if you have more than that, the installation will likely finish faster. This is also a single core PC. So again, the processing power is not the latest and greatest or highest powered, so you'll see that the amount of time here, I'd say, is about average. And if you've watched my MySQL installation, you'll notice how Microsoft takes much longer for SQL Server to install than what MySQL does. It's finally on the component of doing the local DB package and starting it. It's one of those progress bars that's on the final operation and it's just hanging, waiting to complete. Looks like it's just about there. Good old progress bars that show that they're full when the system's still not fully complete doing its operations. Doing some final configuration settings. All of the operations to start and stop the services seem to be getting applied now. And it looks like it's doing the cleanup. And at this point, you're complete with the installation of the database. You'll see everything should show as succeeded. If not, make sure you click on the status, review the details, and do any troubleshooting that might be necessary. We'll click close at this point. The next thing we're going to do, like I said, we're going to install SQL Server Management Studio, and that's going to be install SQL Server Management Tools. That's going to take us to Microsoft's website, and we're going to download SSMS. Click that link. That's going to drop us down to the actual download, which is another file that has to be installed. So you can see that here. Now you can do the installation of SSMS before the local database. You do need to do both though to be successful in the complete setup. So once that's downloaded, you'll see that it's finishing up right now. It's a little bit larger of a file. You'll be able to open it and run it. Give that another couple seconds. Now that it's ready, we can open it. This too is fairly large and takes some time once you've clicked open file to get it to launch typically. What I've done before is clicked it myself multiple times and come to find out I've caused it to launch several times. So we're going to wait and we are going to hopefully see it open here in a couple minutes. And we'll see another installer pop open. At this point, while we're waiting, we can close the old one. We no longer need it. We can also close the command prompt or click on the command prompt if one was open still. And here we go. So here's the SQL Server Management Studio installer. Again, you're going to want to pick the location there in the text box if you feel that you need to change it. Click install. We can close our web browser if we will no longer need it at this point in time either. As the installation for this with SQL Server Management Studio and Azure Data Studio combined, it's a fairly large install. Just like the download file, it was a half a gig. So you should expect that it will take some time to do the installation to complete. All in total, in most cases, this process should take you no more than 30 minutes. I anticipate that within another 5 minutes or so, we should have a complete installation set up here. We are fairly close. Looks like it's doing the cleanup tasks now, and we're almost there. And once this completes, we'll be able to verify that we can connect to our database on our computer to begin our work and our journey learning how to work with SQL Server. Alright, the setup's finally complete and it's been successful. Click close and let's verify that we're good to go. We'll go down to our start menu. We're going to look for SQL Server Management Studio in our start menu and click on it to launch it. Once it launches, we're going to see that it wants us to enter connection information to our database. And it's going to automatically default in our computer name for us. Okay. If you did a named instance, you would type in the named instance that you used during the install. If you didn't, you can use the computer name, or you can type in local host as well. Okay, and then once you do that, you're going to click connect. And you can now verify your installation. Over on the Object Explorer on the left-hand side, you'll see that you're connected and everything should be ready to go. So now you're ready to work with SQL Server Management Studio. I hope you found this instructional helpful. If you're not currently a subscriber, please subscribe. If you think this will be valuable for somebody else, please share it with them. Thank you.